What's up, guys? Welcome to TFGoose Gaming. I'm TFGoose here with Vendetta, and today we are bringing you the warrior version of our deck builder series. Yeah. Rawr, rawr. Yeah. So again, guys, real quick recap. If you haven't been watching this series, we're just going to show you a couple of decks, sort of a low mid-budget version for you lower guys here like me, and another high-budget version of the deck a little bit later in the video, and you can jump to those if you want with the links there above. And then we'll show you some gameplay background, while we're doing that with each deck. So bear in mind, these are not end-all be-all decks. It's just what we've been using and having some fun with, and figured, hey, at least we'll, give some ideas to you guys on what we're doing and why. So with that, we will start off with the low-budget version, and I believe Execute is up first, yeah?
Yeah, rocking 2 Executes in the low-budget version of this deck. It destroys any damaged enemy minion.
Yeah, so this is obviously this is a removal spell, and you kind of want to make sure that you're using it on something that you're not going to be able to clean up in another fashion. Great, obviously, for taking out big chunky minions later in the game. So this is actually a card I would kind of mulligan at the beginning,
Yeah, it's really better later game, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But after that is a card that's great anytime, honestly, but certainly great at the beginning, is the Fiery Wind Axe. It's what it is, right?
Yeah, it really is. The reason that this card is so good is because it's a 2-drop, and it can clear any other 2-drop in the game.
Yeah, this thing is just sick. I think there might be a few minions like Nat Peggle or something that has 4 health, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but he also has no attack, So, I mean, there's very, very, very few things out there that are a threat that you can't clear with this axe. And you get 2 swings with it. So it's a 3/2 minion, but you get it twice because you get to swing twice. So it's kind of, crazy like that. But this is a very, very OP weapon, certainly at 2 mana, and there's just no reason not to have them in virtually every warrior deck ever made. After that is a card that's not in every warrior deck, but it's still a reasonable one. That works well for me in this one, which is Cleave.
Yeah, it does 2 damage to 2 random enemy minions. This is really good early game. Past that, the late game, it's not quite as strong, but it's really good early game removal. For only 2 mana, I think there's no reason not to have this in a good low budget deck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the essence of a control card here. You want to get this out there and clean up the first couple of minions that your opponent throws out. They're likely going to have 2 health. And you can just wipe them out really quick with this card. So bear in mind, though, it is that random effect. So if they load up the board with more than 2, then you kind of praying that it hits the right thing. After that, we get a little bit more removal or even just direct damage in Heroic Strike, right?
Yeah, adds +4 damage to the enemy hero. This is really good. It does 2 things.
Your hero, not the enemy hero.
Oh, sorry.
Hopefully not the enemy. No, we know what you meant.
Yeah. Anyway, it does 2 things here. First off, it can be added to a weapon to do some increased damage in order to clear maybe, say, a tougher minion. Or it can be used to finish off a hero. I mean, you pair this with, like, say, an Arcanite Reaper, you're doing 9 damage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's really, really nice. But I think the other thing that's really nice is you don't have to have a weapon at all to use this ability.
True.
So it can become essentially a 4/1 weapon, is really what you're doing. But it happens to be, such that you can also add its damage onto something else that you already have equipped. So really, really nice, and it's great for burst. To either take down that tough minion or, like you just said there, finish off the enemy hero. So after that, one of the staple favorites that I like to carry around in my decks, Acidic Swamp Ooze. This guy, as we've said in a few of our other videos, or basically all of them, 3/2 minions for 2 are just good bargain anyway. They're good stats, and being able to destroy an opponent's weapon is great. Certainly this is a card you don't want to see played against you when you're playing a warrior. But having them in your own arsenal to take care of any other enemy weapons is a good thing. So after that, back to a warrior card, we get the cool Taskmaster.
Yeah, he's a 2/2, and he has a battle cry that he inflicts 1 damage and gives 2 attack. This is kind of an interesting card because it can be used for either removal or as a buff. So I think you get a little bit of versatility. You'll see these played, like, say, maybe if you had a Twilight Drake that was down to 1, you can go ahead and use it on that and kill it off, or any other minion for that matter. Or you can buff your own.
Yeah, exactly. And this card actually synergizes really well with another one that's coming a little bit later down the list. And we'll get to that in a moment. But first, we'll take a look at another, again, one of our staples, the Fairy Dragon. This guy, again, 3-2 for 2. Can't beat that. Also can't be targeted by, enemy powers or spells or anything like that unless it's essentially a random effect or an AoE. So these guys are great in the early game. They tend to stick around long enough to do their damage and hit what you want them to hit. So but you can't really ask too much more from a 2-drop. And then after that, a little bit of card draw, yeah?
Yeah, Acolyte of Pain, it's a 1/3. Every time it takes damage, draws you a card. We felt this deck was a little light in card draw mechanics, so we wanted to add him in there for that.
Yep, and that's basically it. It's that simple. So, and again, you can hit this guy with the Cruel Taskmaster if you want to, even to pop a card. So that's something else you can do. But that's not the synergy I was talking about. The one I was talking about earlier was this card here, Raging Worgen. This guy, you pop with that Cruel Taskmaster, and his Enrage effect gets kind of nasty very fast.
Absolutely. It's a monster.
Yeah, this card can win games by itself if the enemy doesn't have taunts, that can absorb the damage. And if they don't take care of it really, really quick, like if you have your own taunts, say, on your side, then it can become a true monster, and it's just a great card.
Yeah, I should point out that Cruel Taskmaster really pairs well with almost any enraged creature.
Good, yeah, very good point. So after that, back to basics a little bit. Again, Shattered Sun Cleric, one of our favorites. Yeah, this guy has got that Battle Cry buff, the +1/+1 that screws with the math for your opponents and allows you to make favorable trades. Really solid card in basically any deck, and I like to give it spots in mine.
Agreed.
Yeah. And then after that, more warriorness.
Yes. Warsong Commander, 2/3, gives any minion with 3 or less attack charge. Now, this card was recently changed, and that was basically because of the Hunter one-turn kill deck, and so it's not quite as powerful as it used to be, but with our deck kind of centralizing around lower cost minions, we felt it was a good fit.
Yeah, exactly. This card can do a lot of work, and especially when you have the lower curve deck like this. So after that, we have another warrior card, the Arathi Weaponsmith. This guy is pretty sick. It's got decent stats, but the big draw is that he gives you that weapon. So it's essentially another weapon card that you throw into your deck, and warriors are great for that. That's one of the main reasons you play them, because they're constantly weaponed up and can do sick damage. So this guy's great to carry for that reason. And then after that, another staple that was also nerfed recently, but that I'm still getting some utility out of. I haven't kicked him out of all my decks yet, is the Dark Iron Dwarf, right?
Yeah, he adds 2 temporary attack to any creature on the board. I still find great utility with this card. I think it's a solid 4-drop.
Yeah, it's still earning a spot for me. We'll see. I might swap it out later. And certainly if I think I will, if I get another one of this next card, my personal favorite on the rare neutral side, Defender of Argus. This guy is great. The Battle Cry buff is amazing. It's basically a Shattered Sun Cleric plus taunt for 2 minions. And you just love this card. I love it. Great for protecting those enraged Wind Fury Raging Worgens you got back there. So pretty nice. And then after that, again, back to more warriorness, the Kor'kron Elite for some chargeness, yeah?
Yeah, he's a 4/3 with charge. I mean, think of him as like an Archer Commander, but with 1 more health and no Divine Shield. He's really good. If you haven't been able to tell, this is kind of a rush deck, and definitely good for feet and face.
Yeah, exactly. This is, it's a good finisher. It's a good way to take down a minion that's just popped out and is in your way. It unfortunately it doesn't have that Divine Shield like the Argent Commander does, but then again, it also costs 2 less and has 1 more health. So maybe it survives anyway. So good utility card, and certainly great in aggressive decks. And then speaking of aggression, another great weapon, in the hero arsenal, or in the warrior arsenal. It's a hero. That counts. It's the Arcanite Reaper. This guy, 5 attack, and again, if you pair this with some sort of a buff like Heroic Strike, it can do some serious work. You get 10 damage out of this card when you play it unless someone destroys it, and it's just going to be a nightmare. Your opponent does not like seeing you equip this thing.
Yeah, Arcanite Reaper is nasty. It's really a very strong weapon. I wasn't sold on it at first, but I've kind of come around to it. It's really nice to clear, like, say, a Sinjin Shield Master.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of sometimes those high health minions have lower attack too, so you don't even end up taking that much damage when you clear them. But, ultimately, this can, of course, be a great way to finish the enemy hero too. So great to have in the deck. And then after that, again, a neutral favorite of ours, so we both like this card a lot, Silverhand Knight. 4/4, and it summons a 2/2 for 5 mana. That's just excellent value, and is a great target for Defender of Argus if you get them late game. So love these guys. I just don't really have another thing I wanted to put in the deck besides them.
I think this is a pretty popular card. I think, you know, at least in my play experience, and I played a lot of Hearthstone, you see Silverhand Knights all the time, and that's just because they're so good. They're not extremely powerful, but they're still pretty darn good.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we have him here, so he's certainly welcome. And then last couple cards here, we talked about before, Argent Commander. This guy's fantastic, pops in, does his 4 damage, and then, yeah, he sticks around after that because of the Divine Shield, and you really can't beat that. And then lastly, rounding up the deck here is just a Boulder Fist Ogre. Nothing crazy, you know, but hey, he's got 7 health. What do you want?
Yeah, mishmash.
Yes, excellent. So that's our low budget version of the deck here, guys, and we'll swing over here and take a look at Vendetta's high budget version here and see what we can do with a little more dust. Let's take a look. All right then, so starting things off then on the high budget deck here, we've got a newbie for our decks, yeah?
Yeah.
Argent Squire.
Argent Squire. It's a 1/1 with Divine Shield. This is an interesting card because it trades really well in the early game because of the Divine Shield.
Exactly. Yeah, you want this guy around, you know, so that he can basically get in 2 hits, you know, for 1. And this is also, if you play this guy in any other occasion too, you know, he's a great buff target, of course, too, because of that Divine Shield. So really, really nice. After that, same thing as before, Fiery Wind Axe. We have 2 of them here because everyone carries 2 of them because it's awesome. You know, there's really not much more you need to say about this thing. Just put them in your decks and enjoy the hit. And after that is another one from the low budget that's still awesome, Heroic Strike, but you got 2 of them here, yeah?
Yeah, I got 2 of them because I felt like it was really a lot of oomph to put in the deck. So yeah, good removal, good to pair with a weapon, either way.
Yeah, and this deck is all about oomph. You know, we're pretty much just trying to burst here and, you know, control the board just enough to tear them down, and that can really help. So, and in that vein, the next minion we have here, Bloodsail Raider. This guy synergizes very well with weapons, of course, because why not? And we have tons of weapons in this, and this is the type of minion that you want to play when you have that situation. I kind of need to put a couple of these in my deck, honestly.
Yeah, Bloodsail Raider is super strong in this deck. As you'll see, you know, by the end here, we have a lot of weapons, so pairs well.
Yeah, does a lot of work. After that, again, Fairy Dragon, same reasons as before. Nice, untargetable, low-cost minion with good stats. You know, love him, does a lot of work, and we certainly want to keep him around. And then after that, a card we didn't have before, an epic here, Ye Olde Blood Knight. And what does this pair well with?
This pairs well with our Argent Squires.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the reasons that they're in the deck. So they're great on their own, the Argent Squires are, but if you want a nice turn 4 play, if you happen to have both of these in your hand, you can pop the Argent Squire out, drop the Blood Knight, and you get a 6/6 for 3 mana. That's pretty ridiculous. And again, considering that silence isn't all it used to be right now, this guy tends to stick around or at least draw a massive removal from your opponent, which is great because if he burns them now, he won't be able to take care of some of the other crap later.
Yeah, on turn 4, there isn't going to be anything that can take care of this guy aside from a silence.
Exactly. So, or a big massive removal like a fireball or something like that. So after that, another different card here we're including, the Earthen Ring Farseer. This guy is here solely for heal. This is basically just to help keep you alive as you use your weapons, you know, or even some of these chunkier minions a little bit later to tear down your opponent. Because since you're beat facing a lot here, you can take a lot of damage when you're trying to do removal on the board, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just a good solid 3/3 minion, and that heal is very important.
Yeah, very, very good stuff. So, and then after that, a warrior card here. This guy is so BA.
Yeah, Frothing Berserker. He's a 2/4, but every time a minion takes damage, he gets an attack. So he can go insanely high.
Yeah, and he starts with that ridiculous, horrible 4 health figure, right?
Yeah.
So that makes him kind of difficult to get rid of in the early game if you play him early. And he's usually going to stick around long enough to gain a couple of attack points. Certainly if you wait to drop him until you're already ready to trade, with something else, and he instantly starts picking up a couple attack really, really fast. If you happen to AoE your opponent right after dropping this guy, he can get ridiculous really fast. So fun card, and he can do a lot of work. After that, another kind of a staple that I left out of my deck, but we've got him back in here again, Ye Old Harvest Golem.
Yay, 2/3 with a death rattle of a 2/1. Just a solid minion. It fits well within this deck, It's kind of, you try to kill him, you still get another minion back, beat more face.
Yeah, exactly. This is the essence of value here. You're almost certainly going to have to, use 2 cards to get rid of this guy if you're the opponent, and that's what you want in any minion. To go 2 for 1 or more. So this guy's great. After that, we pop in a couple of Mortal Strikes here. This is just great DD. Direct damage, and it gets stronger if your hero is on low health, which he does tend to get, especially late game. But this card can be great for, either removal or for just going straight to the face and finishing off the opponent. And having a couple of these, I think, has worked well in this deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on here, we have the Arathi Weaponsmith. We had also in the low-budget version. It's a 3/3, and it gives you a 2/2 weapon. Again, going with that weapon theme, lots of weapons. Let's get that damage out early and fast and, kill the opponent.
Yeah, always have some kind of a weapon in your hand is kind of the theme here, when you're playing Warrior, and certainly with these couple of decks. And this guy helps make that happen just in case you're running dry on your draw. So, great card. And again, one more... from the other deck as well that's just as good here, the Corkrun Elite. 4/3 charge. Again, great for burst damage, great for taking out a problematic minion that your opponent has dropped. This is surprise damage, and where that the opponent doesn't see coming because it's not on the board yet. All of a sudden there it is, and bang, charge, they're having to deal with it. So really, really nice to have around. And then there's the king of surprise damage.
Leroy!
Absolutely. Good old Leroy Jenkins. This is one, though, that you generally don't want to drop unless it's a kill, right?
Yeah, you don't want to drop this guy unless it's a kill because he summons two 1/1 whelps for your opponent, and so those can turn around and just kill him. So, but he's fantastic for that charge element. Great to finish off your enemy or take out a really big minion if you had to. But yeah, you kind of want to save this guy until the end.
Yeah, if you can do it. If it in a pinch, if you have to use him to take down a big problem on the other side, then go ahead. But just be aware that you're going to leave the means for clearing him, with your opponent if he survived the turn anyway. And if he dies, then your opponent just has a couple of 1/1s to do whatever he wants with now. So just bear that in mind. That's why I usually don't even like to mess with him unless it's a kill. So after that, back to a couple more basics here. Again, Arcanite Reaper. Why? Because it hurts in the face. That's why.
Reasons.
Reasons, that's right. So yeah, a 5 damage weapon just does work, and we have a couple of them in here again just to keep yourself locked and loaded at all times. And then, of course, same reasons. Ye Old Argent Commander, Bubble Knight, love him.
Yeah, Charge Divine Shield. I mean, what's not to like?
Yeah, Bubble Bullet. That's what this guy is. Seriously, he's like a before damage bazooka that survives. Which you have to like, So he's almost, again, always going to trade 2 for 1. It's pretty much going to be that way most of the time because of that Divine Shield. And if you happen to want to pair that with a Blood Knight for some reason on turn 9, go for it. But a lot of the times, or pretty much always, it's a better idea to do that with the Argent Squire. So
yeah, the cost is way less as well.
Yeah, no doubt. So, and then after that, we got a couple more newbies here. First is kind of a cool legendary. I dig this card. I didn't at first, but now I sort of do.
Yeah, the Black Knight. He destroys any minion with time. And this is the reason he kind of goes along with this deck is because, the theme is rushdown and aggro. And so, if your enemy is going to place a taunt to kind of block you from rushing him, this guy will take care of him for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like, that's definitely his primary purpose, especially with a deck like this where you're kind of hoping to sneak through and punch the opponent down. The only defense your opponent has against that in a lot of these situations, especially with charge and weapons, which is kind of what we're loading up here, is to stick down taunts. And having a big meaty taunt on their side, a lot of times some opponents will start to think they're safe, right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you got to deal with this. Well, now I can kind of piddle around and do what I want back here because I got this nice big fat wall in front of me, like a Sunwalker or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, people, they drop a Sunwalker. They're like, oh, well, I'm cool. You know, no, not so much.
Or
Not
my personal favorite, an Iron Bark.
yeah, Black Knight murders Ironbarks for sure.
Turns
and
them into
Sunwalkers.
firewood.
Yeah. So fun card, especially in a deck like this, and is a great surprise for your opponent. And then lastly here is our last weapon, Ye Old Gorehowl. Definitely read the card text there. You certainly don't want to use this, you know, on the opponent's face unless it's a kill. Otherwise, you'll dump the weapon. But it's absolutely fantastic removal on minions, and that's why we have it here, unless, of course, you want to finish them off. So, and with that, I think that's about it, man.
Yeah, that's the Warrior. I want to point out this deck. I've been playing this deck quite a bit, and it's super fun. If you have the cards, I would highly encourage you guys to play it. It's really fun.
Yeah, definitely give it a shot, guys. And keep an eye out, obviously, for more Hearthstone content. And we'll be bringing lots more of this, as well as Starbound and whatever else we can come up with. So stay tuned, guys. We'll see you soon.